Hello, here we are. We've got our Suburban Hydro up on the, I don't even know if it actually really is called a Suburban now. It's some interesting stuff when you research out these old tractors. Well, our SS12 over there, I mean, it definitely is labeled, Suburban and all that. This one here is not. I mean, it's labeled the Hydro Trac. It is not a 1969. It is a 1968. And some of the stuff that's been pointed out, I've had really good response online and in the comments of this video by a couple of YouTubers. One is Sears 71 and the other is Rooney's Sears 01. I believe that's correct. Check out both their channels. They got really good content on these tractors and fairly knowledgeable. Rooney's Sears 01 has a tractor that's identical to this. It's exactly the same, and that's the only other one that I've actually been able to find. And Sears 01 claims that he's done a lot of research into these particular ones, and he doesn't feel that there's any more than 14 or 15 that he's been able to find that exist. This tractor is kind of odd. The Sears Suburbans, they have they have fancy wood grain decals like that one over there does, and it's a fancy wood grain decals. They have a cigarette lighter in the dash. They have an ammeter for a battery charge. This tractor does not have that. It's a lot simpler, which is interesting. See the dash there. It is marked for a lighter over there, but there isn't one. And there's no battery ammeter. The model number 917-25400, if you research that out, I mean, I've had it come up as a 1967, and that is not a 1967 dash. It is 68 or newer. I've had it come up as 69, and I don't think that's right. I mean, I think these guys saying that the 68 is correct. If you look at the tag, I don't know if you can see it up there on the engine. If you run that particular number, it does come back as 1968. So I don't know. One of the theories is that when they were coming out with their Hydro Tracs, they were going to have two different trim levels. They were going to have this guy here, which was an electric start, more basic tractor, and then they were going to have their, the Suburban Hydro as a fancier upgrade model. So I don't know. And you get looking at information for this stuff online, and it's kind of interesting some of the differences in information that you do find. So you just have to take everything that you find on the internet as far as information with a grain of salt. There's a lot of folks out there that are throwing opinions out, and they're not correct or not knowing. Now, when I start doing something like this, the first thing I do before I take anything apart is I really give a very close look to the overall condition of the tractor, as far as any damage that's been done, anything that doesn't fit right. First thing I come up with is the front of this hood was crashed, and it was folded down, and it was wrinkled right here, pushed back. So I hammered and dollied a lot of that out. I got it pretty good now, and I did that before I took it apart because I wanted to be able to compare it. And it's funny because it looks like it's tight there and open there, but then you come over here and it looks like it's tight here and open there. So I think that's an optical. But if I put straight edges on here, this is pretty good. And I think it's good enough. So, but I've got the relationship now between the hood and the grill. So and this piece here, I probably do have to put a little bit of filler in there just to smooth out some very, very minor imperfections in it. So I can do that now confidently and know that when I put it back together, when everything is nice and freshly painted and looks good, I won't have to mess around with it. That's the idea, is when I put it back on, I don't have to fool with it. Everything will line up and it'll be good. So looking around, of course, the next obvious thing, all the tires on this tractor are junk. Those are no good. So we won't be using any of those. I'm looking around. I think what I may do is I may put more ag tires on this when I put it back together. I may put 3 ribs on the front and maybe some ag tracks on the back in this size, and I think that might look pretty sharp. Nowhere near, you know, definitely what it came with, but like I say, these are no good anyways, so I'll use that. We did have a dent here, which I dollied out, and that looks pretty good. And back here, this on the fenders, this fender here was bent down quite a lot, and it was dented in here, which I dollied out to straighten that back out. But there's a brace up inside, and that brace was bent, so the whole thing was down. So just kept working it, kept prying it up, and I've got it back pretty good, I think. I've got my little angle gauge here. These are just the neatest little thing. You get these at Harbor Freight, and they're hardly any money. All right, so if you look at that 0 there, if we take it off and move it over here, we're 1.3. So, and the problem with that is if you move it like here, you know, it's more, you move it in there, it's less. So, okay, so a degree and a half, I'm thinking that's going to be close enough for me. When you stand back and you look at the tractor, I mean, it looks the same. So I think we're going to be okay with that. And see, here's a perfect example. There's no way, if you had it all torn apart and you had this off the tractor and you were you straighten out your dent, you know, how do you have to have it straight when it's kind of in its natural place to know that it's right or wrong. But now we can take it apart, we can, you know, redo it, put a nice pretty coat of paint on it, and when we go back, all we should have to do is just bolt it back on and everything's good. We do have some oil leaking in here, and this hub on this side is loose. So I can move it out and I can move it back in very easily. It actually moved out when I was rolling it around. So I'll have to take a real hard look at that. It might just be loose, but I have seen some videos of those that were cracked, and so that lets them move in and out. But that's about it. When I had the battery in it, I checked it. All the lights do work. They work good. So that's a plus. Definitely no luck on decals at all for this. I mean, some of the ones like the maintenance one under the hood seems to be very common with all of them. That's not different. But the hood sides, the dash, and that one there seem to be a little bit different. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these apart. I'm going to be very, very careful with these and not damage them, so I can actually I'll just take the panels. I'll take the hood, I'll take the dash, and I'll take the little thing right to you know, we have vinyl shops here that, you know, they make signs and vinyl wraps and things like that, and I'll see if they can duplicate it and have those in hand before we do anything that disturbs those at all, just in case for whatever reason they have to be reused. I hope not, because they're not really in very good shape, the hood ones especially. And all the while I was thinking that on this, there's something here was missing. It just kept coming back, and every time I looked at it, it just didn't look right. And I'm thinking, you know, there's got to be something that goes there. But like I say, after seeing the one that Rooney's had, that, like I say, is identical to this tractor. It's exactly the same thing. And his doesn't have those either. So maybe that's not missing. I don't know. But it just, I think it would look a lot better if there was something there. So maybe we can get like a 12 horsepower, you know, decal or something put there when we put it back. But that's all down the road. So it ends up, our little girl here is fairly rare, and that's good, and it kind of makes it a little bit more interesting to do. And we're at the point now where I've got everything checked over. The one thing that is missing is there's no steering wheel center. You know, there's a little cap that goes on the steering wheel, and I haven't found anything for these 3-spoke steering wheels for that. So if anybody's got any ideas on that, go ahead and stupid phone, leave it in the comments. We'll see if we can come up with something for that. I think the challenge is actually going to be removing the steering wheel when we take it apart, but we'll see what we can do with that without, you know, destroying it, because the steering wheel is actually in really nice shape. It's not cracked or anything. The only actual issue with it is missing that piece. And from what I've seen, you have to remove the steering wheel to remove the dash tower. But I'll take a look up, maybe there's another way of doing it, but so far that's what I've seen everybody has to do. So there we are. That's where we're at. I think we're good now. I'm going to start taking this thing apart and see what else we find. So I'm going to call this our Sears Hydro Trac video 1, and I will continue on and I will report back when I've made some progress. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Take it easy.